I have a theory. Okay, why Ferrari are making this bad strategy call? I mean, this race was like outright rubbish. If you see Mercedes and Red Bull, they've raced at the top level for the last 10 years, right? So they know how much it takes to do the strategy. So it's that they've always prepared in battle, right? And Ferrari pretty much was lagging behind, where they didn't have to make strategy calls where you're required to win a race.
Hello, everyone, and we are back with yet another episode of our podcast this week. And I cannot have more enthusiasm than this because I'm a Ferrari fan and a Leclerc fan. So, yeah, this also I'm like pretending my best.
I think Abhinav has every right to rejoice. Just
Rejoice,
two
did you
seconds
say?
before this, he was actually crying. Once the podcast started, he wiped his tears, and I think now he has tears of joy.
Tears of joy for what?
Max is winning the championship again
Oh,
because
yes.
the last time you celebrated Max winning the championship, little did you know that you would be celebrating again Max winning the championship.
Yeah. 2021, we were celebrating Max's victory for a different reason because he overthrown a legend, a 7-time Formula One champion, and someone who was almost who was beyond his prime but still in his prime, and even now in his prime, the goat Lewis Hamilton. That was something incredible to watch, and since then it has just been like a cakewalk for Max Verstappen. At least it he makes it looks like that. So yeah, I mean the regulations have come in, yet Max Verstappen has only improved. The cars are facing reliability issues, but Max is cool as cucumber. Be like Max.
That's a good advertisement for a brand called Max.
Yeah, MV1.
Yeah, but it's interesting you mentioned the regulations, right? We've talked about this in the last few races,
Hmm.
wherein we've seen very close racing. If you remember Red Bull Ring, where those five cars was literally together. But that's something that we also saw in the French Grand Prix and also in the latest Hungarian Grand Prix. Be it Russell trying to overtake Perez and that insane start when I think the virtual safety car, and in Hungary where they say it's one of the most difficult tracks to overtake. We saw hell lot of overtaking, right? And we saw some amazing scenes where Hamilton overtook Sainz, I believe, and Toto cheering, right? We also saw scenes of Danny Rick having the double overtake over the fighting Alpines, the
Alpines.
infighting Alpines. Yeah. And Max, man, after the 360, the 360 didn't even matter to him, right? I think life thought that it'll give him a 360-degree turn, but then I think he didn't even care.
Yeah, I think it is almost becoming like it is inevitable that Max Verstappen will come to the top spot in any race. You know, given any situation, they've cracked the code, the strategy. Big shout out to Hannah Schmitz, who's actually heading strategy at Red Bull. That lady is just uh, just killing it. I mean, wow, to be able to outperform and outthink a giant like say Mercedes is just incredible, right? And then
Hi
the
Hannah.
top.
By the way, hi. By the way, hi Hannah. If in case you get to see this podcast, I have an engineering crush on you or strategy crush on you.
I just say that hey Hannah, just you can just join Scuderia Ferrari and please do some stuff there. Okay, pain. We're keeping the pain for a later part of the episode. But speaking of regulation, I mean, it's amazing, right? The kind of overtakes that we are seeing and how closely the cars are following each other, and it's just very fun racing. And although it was not a great race, it has not been like great season for a lot of Ferrari fans. But still, the races are incredibly entertaining, especially Silverstone, probably the most entertaining race of the season. The way cars are following each other were mad, and same thing repeated at Austria. And same thing repeated in France and now in Hungary. So Hungary, being a very slow kind of track, right? Uh, it just it had its own flair this time. I felt, although it was a strategy fail for someone like Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz and the Alpines. Alpines not so much because they were fighting to be fifth, sixth, and they ended up eighth, ninth. So uh, I wouldn't say it was too bad there, but yeah, their battle with McLaren is quite interesting at the moment.
But one team that we've actually seen rise through the last few races, right? You mentioned the whole regulations. We eventually, at the start of the season, we thought that Mercedes was on the wrong side of the regulations in terms that they had a whole lot of purposing. But in the last few races, the way they have come back is a thing of dreams, right? Be it Hamilton continuously scoring podiums, be it Russell pretty much scoring podiums or always in the front, or be it even Mercedes capitalizing on Ferrari's mistakes, right? They have been up there. And I think one of the podcasts you had mentioned, which is that if you zoom out a whole lot, you can still see Mercedes getting better and better and better, right? And that's what has eventually happened. I was seeing an analysis of this for YouTube channel called Chain Bear, uh, where he mentioned 2 points. I mean, those 2 points were interesting, which is consistency and reliability, right? In terms of consistency, Mercedes has finished close to 25 of 26 times, right? By 26, we mean to say like 12 races into both the drivers, and that's how
13
they've
races
arrived
into
at
both the
26.
drivers.
Yeah,
13
yeah,
into
13
2. Yeah.
races. Sorry, yeah, 13 into 2. And in terms of reliability, they've finished 24 of 26 times, right? And that's such a big, massive checkbox to the reliability. Versus if you see Ferrari, they are 19 on 26 in terms of finishing, and 19 on 26 in terms of finishing in points, right? Or 19 in out of 26 in terms of finishing races itself. So that's such a big gap or a big hole in terms of Ferrari's progress, in terms of Ferrari's strategy, in terms of Ferrari's car. I remember you proudly wore the Ferrari jersey, but today you're wearing a more neutral one. But
Yeah, that was a
that's a-
mistake. I wore Ferrari
yeah,
jersey
yeah,
even for French Grand Prix and sat watching it. And yeah, best not to wear it. Yeah, so speaking of Ferrari jersey, I think Mercedes has been just picking up every single point that's been dropped by Ferrari, that's been dropped by Red Bull. And their pace has been improving like crazy, the way they've worked aerodynamics and, the way they're capitalizing, the way they have like flattened out porpoising, almost kind of. We're yet to see it in a very fast circuit like Monza, but they have come like super long way. And uh, their growth rate is even better than Red Bull at the moment, because although like Max Verstappen is doing his job flawlessly, uh, Perez still is yet to catch up in the last couple of races. Like we know that he's not up to the pace of Max, although he had a decent recovery in the last race. But I felt that the strategy, the virtual safety car, kind of screwed him because he was almost on Sainz, and Sainz was about to lose even the fourth position he had. So yeah, I mean, three things, right? Basically, there is your strategy, there is reliability, and then there is race pace itself. So race pace wise, I think Ferrari and Red Bull are like the best cars out there, right? I mean, they built like really amazing cars, and race pace wise, Mercedes is like 1 second a lap behind, which is huge when it comes to F1. And having been there, still able to and yet still able to score points, and not some points in fourth or fifth. There's podiums. Like Hamilton has been on podium like last five consecutive races, like P3, 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 P2, P2, and there's this comeback. Like Max and Hamilton have united again. It's reunited. So deja vu.
But do you think Ferrari, assuming Mercedes is only 30 points, right, behind Ferrari, do you think if there's a possibility that they can come second and Ferrari come third, and what would be the consequences if that happens?
I don't think that's possible, but I think it's inevitable. It is going to happen. Mercedes is going to finish second, and it is also possible that Lewis Hamilton will finish ahead of Charles Leclerc in driver standing. And again, it will be Max. Max will be somewhere far ahead, but Lewis is going to be in second. I feel, and George, he has anyway crossed science right now, so we'll see him also ahead. And Checo, once he flattens out his driver errors, etc., he'll also be in the front. So I don't think Ferrari will finish third comfortably, because it's impossible to go from there to where Alpine and McLaren are right now, because it's like 215 point. Like, even if they threw away everything, maybe they're capable, but I don't think that'll happen. But Ferrari are finishing third this season. Definitely, it's 100%. Like, if you see the trajectory of constructor points from last few races, um, Mercedes trajectory is like this, and Ferrari's like this, and it's, I don't know what is going on there. So it's just sad. And but the way Toto Wolff has gathered his team, and like, there's like a fundamental difference between Mercedes and Red Bull than Ferrari, right? I mean, it looks like Ferrari. You see, I was listening to WTF1 also, and they kept saying that, they had a very nice point, that when it comes to Mercedes, uh, they treat the drivers with utmost respect, and they massage their ego and things like that. But when it comes to Ferrari, um, they almost wag their fingers and tell them to shut up, and tell them that, hey, Ferrari is bigger than you both. Obviously Mercedes is also bigger than Lewis Hamilton, but you don't say that to your drivers, right? I mean, uh, first of all, Leclerc is one kind of character who is, he's like very self-critical. On top of that, you are, punishing him week in week out. That man is going to lose it. I mean,
He
I
already
don't.
lost it in France. That scream right on the radio.
Yeah, the scream. And I think last race he just sounded dead. I mean, which is very sad, very very sad. I mean, that driver deserves a treatment, or like a level of respect, probably like someone like Max has, or George Russell has right now, right? I mean, that's his talent, that's his caliber, right? But uh, look what he's been given.
In this movie, I remember this movie called Skyfall, right? The James Bond movie. In that, they actually have, when they're interrogating, right? They have this thing where they'll utter one word, and then you have whatever immediately comes to your head when they utter one word, you have to just tell whatever it is, right? So I have a question for you like that. And the word I'm giving you is hard tire.
Can you censor this thing? Okay. Screwed. Okay, I'll ask the same thing to you. Biggest strategy fail.
Ferrari.
That's it. I mean, it's like, when you thought you have lost all the hope, Ferrari finds you more hope to lose. Like, no, no, we're not done yet. I mean, how bad can it be? I mean, the tire strategy, I really don't want to go on a rant here. It'll be like a 20-30 minute thing. But uh, like, before a podcast, before a race, when we do preview, right? And like, I am an amateur, like, I don't know like a lot of stuff. So I read Pirelli's strategy, tire strategy, which is given in their blog, which they release for fans, and even they did not mention hard tires. Like, come on, guys! And there are three strategies in that, and it is freaking cold there. And I think these are like their hard tires would be a C2 compound, which is like C1 is the hardest, and C2 is like second hardest. And Hungary is like, I think if it's damn hot, then probably C2 can work. but otherwise there is no speed also to gain that temperature in the tires, right? So I mean, what a disaster class from Ferrari, right? I mean, um,
And the
it,
worst thing is they didn't agree also.
yeah, that is the saddest thing, because again, like, look at Mercedes, Red Bull. Like, the more I'm seeing Ferrari, the more I'm like respecting Mercedes, Red Bull, and what Mercedes has done through 7 years of Lewis Hamilton, 7, 8 years of Lewis Hamilton. And like, people would say, boring, it's the car and things like that. I'm like, come on, guys, are you serious? Like, look at Ferrari. They have a freaking awesome car, but where is the strategy? Where is the consistency, reliability, and where is uh, that grit to fight back? Here it's like very sad. I mean, like Mattia Binotto, I cannot believe that he blamed the car. And okay, I understand they were not as quick as what they were in Austria or the races before that, but come on, you cannot for God's sake say that there was nothing to do with the strategy. I'm pretty sure he went out in between the race. Maybe it was like a comfort break to pee or something, but he definitely went and shouted at his strategy team inside. But you're coming out and saying, hey, there was nothing like that. I mean, come on, yeah.
Yeah, but I have a theory, okay,
Hmm.
is that why Ferrari are making this bad strategy call. I mean, this race was like outright rubbish. But in
Yeah.
general, why are they making pretty bad strategy calls? And it's a talk of the season is that if you see Mercedes and Red Bull, they've raced at the top level for the last 10 years, right? So they know how much it takes to do the strategy. So they're always in that, they know what strategy works, right? It's that they've always prepared in battle, right? And Ferrari pretty much was lagging behind, where they didn't have to make strategy calls where you're required to win a race.
But
If you see the last few years, nothing.
I don't like agree fully to that. I mean, last few years, if you take okay, 2020 onwards, I understand Ferrari was like nowhere and they were fighting for third or fourth in championship. But if you look at something like 2019, 2018, 2017, 2018, they had a championship winning car with Seb, right? I mean, look what they did. And I understand the professionalism at which Mercedes and Red Bull have been running is incredible, but why can't like Ferrari like emulate those things and do something? Because the reason I feel, the fundamental reason is that they don't believe that they can win championship. It looks like a lack of belief. And where is that pride of red that Michael Schumacher brought onto your team, would that John Todd and Ross Brawn, brought this team to? Like, where the hell is it? And like we are speaking today, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure in some time, if the clown show continues, uh, imagine like such a fucking awesome brand Ferrari it is. It's like a Rolex of cars, and such car in the pinnacle of motorsport is being, if the strategists are being called clowns. I mean, that's such sad, negative marketing for them.
I think Binotto might be pushed off at the end of the season, I believe, because there were already a lot of chances that were given to him, right, across the last few years, and there were no results pretty much. So maybe I think this is the season they get the axe down on his neck and
I
they send him off.
am not fully sure about that, because if you look at Binotto, right, his graph right now is he replaced Arriva Bene in, I think, 2019. And Ferrari did quite well in 2019. And when he actually joined, that's when the whole, the Ferrari's scandal that died down, that happened. And suddenly their pace in quota was very slow and things like that, right? All that. So that was like downfall of Ferrari or whatever you can say. And 2020 was disastrous. But since then, they have actually kind of picked up, right? If you compare Ferrari to 2020, obviously they're doing like wow, amazing and all that. But yeah, I think the repercussions that on the other side, like the other side of me that thinks that probably he's going to be sacked, is the kind of flack that Ferrari's been getting, right? It is immense. Like, especially like every day, the fan base of Formula One is just growing like mad, and people just want to know what is going on. And people don't know about history of F1. And like I know like we know in close circles also, right? People who are like, we don't care, we just know that Ferrari is clown. But people who have actually read about Formula One and things like that, you know that they're a historical team, but currently whatever you're doing, that is affecting your history, that is affecting your future. That's all, man. Like, it is quite sad.
I think one team that is having a smooth sailing in the foreseeable future, at least, is Red Bull. I've seen a quote of Christian Horner saying, "Hey, look, I don't want this championship fight to come like last year, because last year was very exhausting. It was like almost 22 rounds of boxing, right?
Yeah,
Which it pretty much took every single ounce of blood, sweat, tears to win that championship, right? And I think he's just saying they are just cool. They know
yeah,
Ferrari is screwing up themselves, and Max, I think as an organization, they've not put one step wrong, because they're
yeah,
pretty much used to that. Max being Max, right? He's not pretty much put one step forward, which is again wrong. And he's clearly winning the championship. That's unless and until some miracle, unless until a 360 happens, and we know that Max can, with despite 360s happening, he can come back. So I
yeah,
don't think there's going to be any surprise for the second half of the season.
yeah. I mean, the championship was decided in France itself, but people weren't ready to hear it. But that's what happened, like when Ferrari crashed, when Leclerc crashed. But yeah, I mean, the unforced errors that we talk about, right? I mean, there is hardly anything. I think it goes back to 2019 Hungary, or some race, not Hungary, 2019. One of the races where actually Max did an unforced error and crashed out. But after that, he is not. There are times like the 360 spin and all that, but he has recovered, and he has recovered to go on to win, which is like madness. So he's operating at a different realm altogether. Like very similar to the prime years of Sebastian Vettel at Red Bull, which is like considered to be the greatest, more than even Schumacher's days. Um, but yeah, this is where we are right now. So yeah, Christian Horner might be kind of relieved, especially with the way they ended the first half of the season, that he may not age as terribly as last year. Like he and Toto, I think there's a comparison of their phases starting and ending of the year, and they had aged significantly because to absorb, like as fans, we weren't able to absorb the pressure itself, right? I mean, imagine the kind of pressure they might be going through. So yeah, good for him, but not so good for fans. Not so good for even Red Bull fans, right? I mean, fine, they'll sleep knowing that Max will go and win the championship, but I don't think they'll be really happy. Everyone wants to see a dogfight, right? I mean, especially Leclerc coming into the season almost like an underdog. They definitely wanted to see that fight, and we have seen that fight in a few races, and it was just amazing. It's just a pity that you know it's happening this way.
But there's some interesting action in the midfield, right? Alpine has become a surprise fourth as of today. I think before, I'm not sure, before Baku they were okay, right?
Yeah,
Suddenly after Baku they got some crazy upgrade and they were like ripping fast in the straights. But
yeah,
they have kind of, despite having an interesting fight amongst themselves, right? Fernando and Esteban, they have kind of pulled off a fourth, right? Some disappointments from the other midfield teams. Obviously, McLaren, only Lando. Danny Rick is chumma. He's just like time pass reserve driver, I suppose. Only Lando shouldering everything. And Haas has been inconsistent. Right? Suddenly, one track they'll come fifth, sixth, and then
yeah.
Haas guys will put that Stainer ship
Ship, and
meme.
then Mick Schumacher villain era, all those things, and that's it.
Back teams still remain back. Uh, Aston Martin, Williams. I don't know why they're even there or they're racing, but I know it's been a sad time. Apart from Ferrari, it's been a sad time for you because one of your favorite drivers has retired.
Indeed, is not only mine, a lot of Formula One fans. I mean, uh, that was shocking. Like we thought that there were, I think, some interview that asked Sebastian, do you think in 4 5 years time you would still be racing? And this was like last year, I think, and he said no. That itself was like, okay, that is sad, but okay, 4 5 years is like still understandable. But ending it in 2022, man, that was like shock. What were your first thoughts when you heard about Seb's retirement?
I wasn't surprised. He was driving that green brick around. Right? And I think his dad also mentioned the same, saying that for a champion, for a four-time world champion, leave like a one-time world champion or a two. For a four-time world champion, where one, he's not even able to push the car beyond 16th, 17th, right? At least fighting in 10, 11, 8, 7, at least is something.
Yeah, or something like
17,
Fernando.
yeah, exactly. But 17, 18, I don't know. And him trying to, obviously, the boss's son is there.
Yeah,
He can't screw around more. I think there was like a writing on the wall somewhere that doesn't make sense. I mean, there is a respect that uh, such legends at least require from a decent car,
true, very
right? And
true. I think Aston Martin buried him basically, and Ferrari killed him. Just like Ferrari killed Alan Prost, just like Ferrari killed Fernando Alonso, and just like Ferrari is killing Charles Leclerc right now. So I think he was killed at Ferrari, but he was buried by Lance Stroll's father. Yeah, it's just sad, I mean, and look at him, like he had his glory days with Red Bull, and I'm pretty sure he must have regretted a lot moving to, moving to Ferrari back then. Uh, like in hindsight, probably because yeah, everything happens for a reason. You say that, but the car that they had in 2016 wasn't great. 2015 also wasn't that great. And finally, when 17, 18 happened, and Mercedes were just too good for them, and they just couldn't deliver. And even Seb had those times where he became this chief strategist, and he would not listen to Ferrari. And now we totally understand where he's coming from. And I mean, he should have won at least one championship with Ferrari, right? I mean, if he's a he's a man of that caliber, someone like Max Verstappen, I mean, he definitely should have won at least, if not if not two or three, at least one championship with Ferrari. But seeing Charles Leclerc, I think we totally get that feel. Like, why this guy didn't win? Like so many factors have to be in place, and I would say that Lewis was very lucky to be with someone like Niki Lauda and Toto Wolff to just pull the impossible off. Yeah. So Seb, goodbye to Seb, and it was really a sad thing. He just came to social media and everyone are like, "Yay!" And then he said, "There is still a race to win." And I was like, "Damn." Yeah.
yeah,
Speaking about breaking news, lot of breaking news these days, right? I mean, speaking of one legend, uh, now he's being replaced by none other
the
than.
other legend, the decisions of the driver, which make zero sense almost, which is Fernando Alonso. But I get it. Like the man is 41 years old.
Yeah,
Right. But obviously, it's going to be interesting to see because Alonso is a very clever and a very smart chap, almost a politician kind of a personality, right? And
absolutely.
in an organization where the boss is known, right? The boss is, you can't arm twist the boss like how he did for McLaren, right? The boss is very strong. The boss's son is there. I don't know. Maybe it's just his last years, and then he's going to pretty much maybe 2 years and he'll retire. But yeah, that's a good signing for him. They've got at least someone to develop the car.
Yeah,
Uh, Alpine sad they were caught with their pants down. Alpine, they didn't even know that the boss is the man was leaving. They got to know
yeah.
through media.
And Fernando was saying that it's a matter of 10 minutes to decide the future with Alpine or not. I mean, nobody expected that it would be the other way. Like everyone thought that, oh, probably he would sign. a multi-year deal or something like that. But that's one reason, right? Why he didn't go. They were not giving. They're not ready to give him that multi-year deal. Speaking of which, Oscar Piastri. The breaking news is that he has joined Alpine, and like, wow, what is happening? And the news that you told me was like incredible, right? Maybe you can tell the viewers also.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I've read on Twitter commentary, right? Which is that the statement that Alpine put out, it's nothing celebratory, right? It's more or less a driver contractual thing, which they had actually paid and they'd given him a chance as a reserve driver and they've promoted him, right? It has no statement saying we're excited to sign the next young talent that to win races together. There is no quote from Piastri. Obviously, there were talks that Mark Webber, who's the manager of Piastri, there were some news reports that he was in talks with other teams. People first speculated Williams, right, because they wanted to send Piastri to do this internship, at least to drive a relatively get some basic driving experience. Then there was this news that it's not Williams, it's McLaren. Then there was I think French newspapers and French motorsport magazines said Danny Rick is, given that he helped them develop the car, right, and he has a good relationship, he's going to be replacing Alonso, and it made sense because they need a
Yeah,
team leader, they need a experienced driver, and
correct.
Ocon, obviously, the nuthead that he is, he can't be that. But yeah, the surprising announcement. We thought we were in for a silly season. I don't know if this theory is true. We are in for like a dramatic, silly F1 driver season.
I
Yeah,
think McLaren is good with handling two young drivers, right? I mean, when Carlos and Lando were there, their equation was much better than when I think Stoffel Vandoorne and Alonso were there in McLaren. Obviously, the car also wasn't that good, but Alpine with Ocon, who is relatively like has very little experience compared to Alonso. Him beside Piastri, that will be interesting. But nevertheless, super happy for Oscar Piastri because that man deserves F1 seat more than a lot of youngsters out there. And I mean, he's a I think F3 champion, F2 champion, both in rookie season, and I think 2019 Renault Euro Cup or something like that. That champion also. So
one of
definitely
the most
deserve.
envious drivers behind George Leclerc.
Yes, definitely. I mean, super talented. Again, Australian might, just like Danny Rick. It'll be quite interesting to see him, and then that's a actually pretty strong pairing. Ocon is a good driver, and Piastri is Ocon is good, and he's French, but Piastri is better. So we'll see what the team dynamics look like in Alpine next year onwards. And who do you think will go to Williams?
I think Nick De Vries. They might
Hmm.
kick out uh,
Gotifi.
Latifi, and they might take Nick De Vries at least. There's talk that Logan Sargent will come. Not sure, but
Hmm.
Nick De Vries is someone who actually deserves a seat. The man has won F2. He's won Formula E, right,
Yeah.
and he's just waiting a lot. That's what I always wished. At least if he gets one driving chance,
Yeah.
right, it'll at least do rather than having random people. I mean, they're good people, right, but they have an advantage of money.
Correct.
But rather than having that, I think Nick De Vries is someone who requires a chance. But yeah, waiting to
True.
see
I
what
think.
the F1 season gets.
Yeah. I think there was this fan theory that said that I think the F2 world champions should get a seat in Formula One compulsory. Uh, which is it is a theory which doesn't translate quite well in practicals because uh, F1 is a different ball game altogether, right? I mean, the amount of money that's in F1 is it's easily 10 times of what's in F2. So doesn't translate too well, but purely seeing from a driver talent point of view, it definitely does make sense. Like for example, Mick Schumacher, he himself was uh, a champion, and Oscar Piastri, and the greats like Rosberg, Hamilton, and Even Pierre Gasly, right? Pierre Gasly was F2 champion. So yeah, it'll be quite interesting to see what happens.
But with that being said, we are at the summer break.
Yeah,
We also get a break from our podcasts for a month. Uh, the teams and the drivers have time to recharge. The couple of things, maybe some announcements on the 2026 engine regs that might come in.
yeah,
Red Bull and Porsche getting together. So it's going to be interesting.
yeah. And
But
also, I
yeah,
think it's a compulsory break, right, of 2 weeks that no one is supposed to work in factories and all that. So it'll be quite great to see what these people do. To all Scuderia Ferrari fans, I think Ferrari, I think you should pay for our therapies because you have put us through a lot of trauma.
you think Ferrari people will be slyly entering factory through some underground tunnel, and the strategy teams will be made to work from home, right? Because as a punishment, since they've not done a
Yeah,
good job.
Leclerc, they'll tell him you drive virtual lemon and all.
And they'll tell Science to keep 10 car with car lengths gap.
Yeah, actually, like more interesting, frankly, would be how Mercedes come back at Spa, right? I mean, like they themselves are speculating that they might have a win in cards at Spa, and at this point, I'm not surprised at all. Like they don't have pace, but they definitely have brains. Uh,
Yeah. And they have the part three step up to their engine, right? I think they're stepping up their engine in parts, checking the reliability, making sure
yeah,
there's performance, and there is a part three coming up. But it's going to be interesting to see where the second half of the season goes. I take a call that it might be. I mean, from a racing standpoint, it's going to be interesting. From a championship standpoint, uh, it's a bit disappointed. I mean, we know
yeah,
who's a champion.
yeah. It would be. It might be a good battle between Ferrari and Mercedes. That is also 50-50, but my money is on Mercedes at this moment. And also McLaren and Alpine, that is also that probably is a nice battle to watch out for. So um, that
Yeah.
is where we are right now. And
It's going to be interesting to see, because what they generally do with drivers is if they're leaving,
hmm,
they do not actually kind of involve them in a lot of the stuff, right? The
correct.
performance of the car, etc.
Yeah.
But here they have money at stake, right? If they have third, they have some X amount of million extra. So will
Yeah.
they risk letting Alonso know? Because Ocon, I'm not sure whether he can like push through the team, right? Because he's just like a junior driver. Or do they treat Alonso the same way? Especially they're very pissed with Alonso the way he announced, right? Uh, do they risk the third and say screw it, but we are screwing you, or do they go for the money? I mean, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, but I think they might be pissed with the way Fernando has announced all these things and all right. But the whole constructors thing is in Fernando's hand. Somehow I believe that, like yeah, I believe that Ocon can do good stuff, but at at this point, being in midfield, you need both the cars to perform. Like even 2 points by one of the cars and 1 point by another car, that could be like a savior kind of a thing for those teams. And I think that's what happened in this thing also, right? Hungary, that I think these two guys together, they picked up 6 points, and Lando picked up 6 points for his team. So they both are even. So you never know how important a point is. So Fernando's role is going to be very crucial. And who do you think will, be on top?
I think Alpine, they will still somehow do it because obviously McLaren has a reserve driver in Danny Rick. He's
No,
now
but
going to contribute more.
okay. My money is on McLaren right now because uh, although all that stuff happened with Ricardo, I believe that he will stay for the year and he will stay for 23 also. And his second half of the season is going to be definitely much better. And they also got upgrades, right? And Lando is massively talented. So my money is on McLaren, and probably we should bet on this. All right. So it's going to be interesting how the second half of the season pans out. No hopes whatsoever. Ferrari, like, do what the fuck? ever you want. At this point, I stopped caring. I mean, like, just give me a break. Like, I think we as fans need more break than these guys. The championship battle has ended, definitely. World Championship. Constructors, it could be interesting depending on how badly Sergio Perez performs and how much Mercedes is going to kick ass. So, yeah, to another season of F1. And I think during this summer break, we'll be coming up with some really fun content for you, because although it might be break for drivers, it's the time where we wake up, and we're going to do some lot of research and see how we can bring out the best content for all of you. And we do have a lot of things planned, a lot of reels, a lot of videos, a lot of fun content, especially because new fans are coming into Formula One every day, thousands and lakhs of them. So it would be great to create content for them.
Yep. Until then, bye bye. See you soon.
Yes.